Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Andrew Pecoraro from Pecksmetalpicks.
And I'm Dan Watson from Enterprise Earth.
And what do you do, Dan?
I'm the vocalist.
All right, so I think a lot of people know you from Infant Annihilator. Obviously, this interview is about Enterprise Earth, the new album you guys recently put out. So I'm most curious about how you found the members for a new band when you decided to make Enterprise Earth.
Yeah, it was shortly after I left the band. I kind of put it out there that I was looking for something else to do, but at the same time, I didn't want to just like join an already established band because I kind of wanted to blaze my own path, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was contacted by BJ Sampson, who's one of the main writers in the band now. He hit me up, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I produced the last I Declare War album and did a lot of writing for that, and I ghostwrite for bands." And I was like, or he was like, "Do you want to start a band and do some stuff?" And I was like, "I guess just write me a song and we'll see how we sound together." And then he sent me the instrumental for Masquerade of Angels, and then I was like, "All right, let's do it." And then he wrote 4 more songs, and then we hooked up with Greg Long from We Are Triumphant, and then that's how we started. And he's obviously...
What was Greg's part in making the band? He wasn't a member or anything.
No, he was We Are Triumphant, like he runs that label.
Yeah, which I have a question about later on.
Okay. And he... Actually, I think he was the one who pointed BJ to me, saying that I was looking for something to do.
Okay.
So...
You guys just put out a new album, Embodiment, this year. Can you talk a little bit about that album and sort of the sound that you guys were going for?
Yeah, with that album, I wanted to kind of break away from what I've done in the past, which is pretty much like writing horror movies, but in the form of songs. So like when I was writing the songs, I would kind of have like a script in my head of like, or pretty much like a rough draft of an idea of what the story would be about, and then write the lyrics in each section to cater to that. And with Embodiment, I wanted to go more of like personal, like more about some of the stuff that I struggled with, and also like make it like a storyline too that's like kind of fantasized and not necessarily like my life story, but
yeah. I went through the lyrics a whole bunch of times. I feel like I have an okay grasp on what the story is, but would you like to explain a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I started to write out the storyline for it, and basically the lyrics themselves are what's going on inside of the character's head, and he has like mental issues and schizophrenia. And
I think I took it too literally then.
Yeah, that's what it's meant to, like, at the surface value is supposed to be perceived as like this literal like fantasized like idea of aliens and kind of shit like that. But then when you read the storyline next to it, you kind of realize it's more like a simple story about this kid who kind of sees the world as if he was like an alien entity trapped inside of a human body, and he was there to perceive the world and kind of like judge them after he experiences life as a human. So the lyrics themselves are, you know, his like interpretation and perspective. It's all twisted, but like in reality, it's just like a normal person like me or you.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how he has like a love interest, and then a couple songs in she dies, and that kind of like begins the downward spiral, I guess.
Yeah, it's like at first, you know, he kind of sees life, and then like the more pain and the more struggle he goes through, the more hatred he develops for humanity.
Okay.
And yeah, so
this question might not make as much sense now, because when I was coming up with them, I was taking the songs a little bit more literally, I think, than probably I should have. At the very end, one of the lines is something about, like, as they burn, they scream out my name. And to me, I kind of thought that meant the main character was thinking of himself as God, because like as they're burning, they would be like screaming out for God. But also in the song, there's a lot of like serpent imagery, and so I thought maybe he could be the devil. Is there like one or the other? Is he supposed to be God or the devil in his own mind?
In his own mind, it's more of like not God or the devil, but kind of what religion would be as like this like mystical entity that's white and black, good and bad kind of thing. But he's like actually, you know, a real human, so he actually has both of those inside of him, like compassion, and then at the same time he has hatred and bitterness.
Okay, so I know you said this kind of comes from your background of like horror movies and scripts and stuff like that. Did this exact story have like a certain inspiration from you? Like, where did this idea come from in your head where you decided to write an entire album about it?
It's something that I don't know, I just kind of like thought about a lot, because I mean, growing up I had like issues with what I believed and where I was at in life. And then at the same time, it's like the older I got too, the more I realized that like aliens could be real, but then at the same time there's no proof. So you kind of like choose what you believe, you know what I mean, and what's real to you.
Okay.
So
silly question break. Do you think aliens exist right now?
I mean, I don't have any proof in my hands, so I can't say that I know they exist, but I can think that they do.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
That's like the same
rides
thing
the
with,
line pretty well.
Same thing with like religion. There's no proof, so it's like I can't say that there is a God, but I can be hopeful and wish there was one, you know?
Okay, see, now that's interesting, and I didn't really have anything that would touch on this, but a lot of your lyrics could maybe be interpreted as like anti-religious. So it's interesting that you leave the possibility open for the unknown, where it's like maybe there is and I just don't know.
Yeah. My only real problem with organized religion would be the fact that pretty much people, without even doing their own investigation and looking for facts, just blindly have faith, you know what I mean? And faith is exactly that. It's believing in something without any evidence to back it up. And so it's funny how like people in churches say, well, you know, God is real and God will save you, but I have faith, you know, I have faith in God.
Yeah.
That right there contradicts everything they say and force down other people's throat. So I just, like, my only problem with religion is like the stupidity that a lot of religious people have, you know.
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting that you're open to it. I feel like a lot of people would say there's no proof, so therefore there's no reason to believe it exists. But anyway, that's sort of like a philosophical question, so we don't need to get into that. When you were making Enterprise Earth and writing, especially the early material, was that some of the stuff that you had wanted to put into Infant Annihilator but didn't get the chance to, or were you basically starting from scratch and saying, this is all completely new band, new everything?
Yeah, because, well, in my previous bands, I had researched a lot about like conspiracies and stuff like that. So I had a lot of like lyrics and ideas that I didn't get to use yet in the past with my previous projects. So when we wrote 23, I kind of just spilt all that into that EP, you know.
Okay.
But at the same time, it was, you know, it's my project that I'm starting, you know what I mean? So it was like I could do whatever I wanted, and that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. Currently, you guys are signed to Stay Sick Records, which is owned by Franz from Attila, and people have mixed feelings about Franz, but personally, I like a lot of the records on his, or a lot of the bands on his label. What is it like being signed to him, and how involved is he as a person in, I guess, your band?
I mean, so far I haven't had much experience being on record labels because we came from We Are Triumphant, and honestly, I was expecting a lot less hands-on, and I was expecting more of like, you know, just, you know, some of the horror stories that I've heard about other record labels. But he was, you know, he's very involved and gave me a lot of personal advice and a lot of advice for like social media and stuff that I was really struggling with. And so he's been like super, super helpful, and he's very down to earth. And the other guys at the label too, Mike and Milford, have been just nothing but the best for us. And
so then being hands-on sounds like it's a good thing for you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And yeah, I know you guys came from We Are Triumphant, and I'm not about to ask you to like talk shit about them, but it seems like I only hear bad stories about We Are Triumphant from the bands that get signed to them and kind of get screwed over. Clearly, you guys moved on pretty quick. maybe just a little bit about your time there and anything about that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk shit, but
Okay.
I think that it was good for us, just starting out. I think that the exposure was good, and I think it was, still to this day a decision that I don't regret, because it did give us a nice launch pad, in the beginning to grow quickly.
Kind of gave you guys
So-
the help you needed when you
Mhm.
needed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I feel like, we just kind of outgrew the label and decided to move on,
Okay. I guess to continue on with difficult questions from the past.
No, sure.
I know a lot of people, I mean, almost everybody has to know that you were the original vocalist in Infant Annihilator.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are probably curious about what happened there and why you left. And I've heard stories, but if you could clear it up, maybe. I heard it was not a great situation for you, and you kind of got screwed over.
I mean, like, the more that time goes on, the more, like, I kind of just don't care anymore. Like, literally, I am cool with the guys now. But it was just, the main reason for me was the fact that I was kind of like this ghost, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I didn't have social media accounts and stuff like that, so part of that was my own fault. So I was invisible, and then on top of that, obviously, I don't live in the UK, so being in the music video is kind of impossible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just like being a ghost, not getting kind of like the recognition and credit I thought I deserved at the time, that kind of made me just want to, start my own thing. And then also, too, is I didn't really have the control I wanted. I mean, I'm not like a weird control freak or anything, but it's like I didn't have any control.
I heard there wasn't really a contract in place.
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
when
there
it
wasn't.
came, okay, would
'Cause,
you like to explain that part?
Yeah, sure. I quit my old band because of some legal issues, and basically I was stuck at home for like 6 months, and I needed to find something that was a project I could do at home and not have to like go out and play shows and dedicate a lot of time to. So I was kind of like looking around on Facebook, and then I found their Infant Annihilator page with like 1,000 likes on it, and it was all instrumentation. I was like, wow, this is like perfect for like my style, my voice. So yeah, I just kind of jumped into that, and basically I didn't think that that project was gonna take off like it did. It was just another, like, I've been involved in bands in the past. I've just been like little jokes, just like, fun and jerking off, just,
Yeah, totally.
just joking around and stuff. So I just thought it was gonna be another one of those things where we record the album and it's done, It's
And then
just
it
like-
blew up.
Yeah, it blew up. I watched it like in a couple months. I think in a month, like grow like 20,000 likes, and I was like, wow, all right. So I guess this is for real.
Yeah.
And it's like at that time I didn't think that there needed to be any contract stuff because, I'm like a man of my word. So I'd expect other people to be the same way when I work with them. So basically, I just wanted to move on because of the control factor. I wanted a band that I could have ideas for, and I mean, obviously, I got to write the lyrics, but the concept and overall concept of it, that's not what I wanted to be known as either.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be just known as the Infant Annihilator or the Gun Crusher or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's like I want to have a serious musical outlet, not
Okay.
just a joke one.
Yeah. Just last thing about that before we move on to better questions than this is, like, so for the contract wise, when it did blow up unexpectedly and, the contracts weren't in place to make sure that things were going to be fair later on.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, like, money wise, things were not fair at the end. And
The financial aspect of it was a little off balance, and I mean, it's cool now because actually Eddie hit me up recently saying that there's demand for that album to be reprinted. And so, he's really nice about it. And he was like, hey, we're going to reprint the album, but we wanted to give you 1/3 cut of the reprints. So he actually did send me the all-in merch checks for that.
Okay.
And so it was like, and at the time I was just like, dude, I really don't care anymore. Like, I'm getting older, and it's like I don't want to have bitterness in my heart or anything like that. And so we were on the same page, and so everything's cool. And like, I don't know, it's just like, I hate drama, honestly. So.
Okay. And it's not like your time in Infant Annihilator was all bad. This is the next question, which is, I think it's true for me. I think it's true for a lot of people. Listening to you as the vocalist of Infant Annihilator was, at that time, literally the heaviest thing that I had heard in my entire life.
Wow.
And I think for a lot of people, they feel the same way. And so I'm kind of curious just what it was like being that guy who, when people talk about insane vocalist, it's Dan Watson. And when they talk about the heaviest album ever, it's like, no, dude, you don't even know. Listen to this shit. And it's like you singing. What was it like being that guy who was pushing the boundaries like that?
It really didn't mean much, because when you just see it on the computer screen, it's not like real. And it's not like I was the guy that I would go to Walmart and they're like, oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
Dan Watson at Walmart. It's just like I would, go to work, do my thing, see my girlfriend kind of stuff, and just be normal. So it's still like weird even at shows today when people come up to me like and say that, they think I'm great or some shit like that, It's still kind of awkward. I'm just like, oh shit.
So humble.
And I'm very also like really hard on myself too, because like I said, I didn't think the album was gonna take off at all. I was like, wow, this sounds shot. And I actually was really surprised, but yeah, I don't know. Being that guy is weird.
This is a weird question to do at this point of the interview, but how old are you?
I am 26 now.
Okay. And
I'll
when you were
actually be-
in Infant, you were like young 20s then.
Yeah, that was.
How were you such a good vocalist?
21.
How were you such a good vocalist at 21? Because I feel like you have gotten to a level that.
Well, I mean,
few
I started
people-
when I was 13.
Is that the key? Is just starting early and practicing that much? I feel like you have something that
I don't
other
know,
people.
practicing a lot, I guess, but
Hmm.
but everyone has like their their own unique voice. So it's like, I mean, I had trouble because I would like try to mimic Randy Blythe from Lamb of God, and I didn't sound anything like him, so I thought I sucked. I was like, wow, I'll never get there. But
Okay.
I don't know. I guess I found my voice or whatever. Something
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay. Last Halloween, you put out a song from a side project called Meyer Lore, and it was a really great song. What made you want to make this side project Meyer Lore instead of just releasing that through Enterprise Earth?
Well, I wanted to work with my friend Frankie from Body Snatcher.
Oh, okay,
and,
cool. I didn't realize he was in that.
Yeah. It's just me and Frankie, and he has like an interesting writing style where it's just like dirty kind of, guitar riffs and song structure wise. And really, I just kind of wanted, like, Enterprise Earth, I can't like always do like the vocal styles that I want, and just mainly because like the music doesn't call for it. Like the super low gutturals and like mainly just the gutturals like that. I can't always use them, and so doing a side project kind of gave me the ability to pretty much go back to my roots and do all those like more extreme styles that I used to do. So.
And that single that came out was almost 10 months ago. Is there any future Meyer Lore stuff in the works?
Yeah, we have a 10-song album that we're waiting on final mixes for.
Oh god, so it's like a real thing,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
like-
like gonna be a lot of songs.
Yeah, it's 10 songs, and Body Snatcher just got signed to Stasic too. So in our contracts, it's in writing where we can't actually release side project material 3 months before or after a release with Stasic.
Okay.
So
I feel like Embodiment was more than 3 months ago. Was it not quite? Maybe not.
Embodiment was in April.
April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, it's like right around the 3-month mark.
Yeah,
Anyway, so it could be coming out pretty soon.
Well, we were expecting to be able to release material or at least singles for Halloween and during the holidays, but since Body Snatcher is signed now, we probably won't be able to do that until spring or maybe even early next summer. Sadly.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna have just like 10 songs that I can't release for months and months, which sucks.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But I mean, Enterprise Earth's new stuff is pretty great too. So I guess we're pretty much at the end here. What future plans does Enterprise Earth have for the rest of 2017 or maybe early into next year?
We have one more tour that we can't announce until I think tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And that's gonna be mid-October to mid-November.
Is it in the U.S.?
Yes.
Okay.
And then next year we're trying to hit Europe. We got to make the right moves to do that. But for the rest of the year, actually, we're going to be off for the holidays and probably be writing some new stuff too.
Cool.
yeah.
Anything you want to say to fans, people who saw you on this tour?
Definitely the people that saw us on this tour. Thank you so much for coming out, for real. That's about it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you to Dan Watson from Enterprise Earth. Make sure you pick up the new album Embodiment, and keep an eye out for the new tour that will hopefully be announced tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.